Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Asia HLM. My name is Rita Choi, founder of Asia HLM. Asia HLM is the human resources community whereby we help human resources professionals in Asia to resolve their work challenges in a caring environment. And recently, my team and I have come up with the tagline of Asia HLM, which is we care to share and we share to care. So to show our care, we organize sharing sessions from time to time on different human resources topics. And the topic for today, which must be related to our hot topic, COVID-19. For COVID-19, all of you must have experienced its impact. We have started to see change of our work practices. We have shifted our workplace from our office to our home. We have started to see business disruptions, such as resulting in unemployment, staff layoff, and so forth. We have started to use different softwares for interviews. So with all these changes, as human resources professionals, we need to define the new normal with best practices. Today, we are very glad that we have VIP speakers from different parts of the world to join us. And they are the founders, presidents, and honorary general secretaries of different human resources professionals in Asia, who will give us our insights on how human resources professionals to embrace all these changes to continue the business continuity. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our speakers of the day. So I would like to start with Mr. Mosharraf Hossain, who is the founder, president of the Federation of Bangladesh Human Resource Organizations. So Mr. Hossain, would you like to tell us a bit more about yourself? You need to unmute yourself first, Mr. Hossain. Unmute.
Yes, okay, thank you very much, Rita, for inviting me in this very august session. I'm very honored. You have already introduced that I'm the current founder president of the Federation of Bangladesh Human Resource Organizations. I am one of the founders also Bangladesh Society for Human Resource Management and served for 10 years. And I also serve as the president of the Asia Pacific HR Federation for 4 years approximately, and I also serve in the World HR Federation. And apart from my regular job with an international organization, I also teach in the MBA program of different universities, and I regularly deliver lectures in different national and international conference and television. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hossain. So we have another big guy from Malaysia who is holding the national flags of Malaysia, Mr. Leslie Lim, who is the Honorary General Secretary of the Malaysian Institute of Human Resource Management. Leslie, please tell us a bit more about yourself.
Thank you, Rita.
Leslie?
Okay, thanks, Rita. Yeah. It's an honor to be on this webinar. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Okay, right. Okay, fine. Originally I was destined to be a chartered accountant, but I love dealing with people more than mathematics and calculations. So I became Malaysia's first master's degree holder in human resource management from the University of Manchester in 1983. So I quickly rose through the ranks, and by the turn of the 21st century, I was stationed and working in Southeast Asian countries at HR director level. Retired in 2011, and in January 2013, joined the Malaysian Institute of Human Resource Management (MIHRM) to help and assist MIHRM President Mr. Aris Seniran in building up the branding and profitability of MIHRM. So I've been the General Secretary since 2014, and in 2018, Mr. Simon Benjamin also joined us and strengthened the team. I'm also on board of Open University HR Advisory Board, and also a founding member of the ASEAN Human Development Organization, ADO. last but not least, I was in the Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers, FMM, HR committee chairman for many years. That's about me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leslie. And our next big guy from Singapore, Lawrence Yang, who is the co-founder of Human Resources and Finance Community, Singapore and ASEAN, and also of Asia Institute of Mentoring. Lawrence, tell us a bit more about yourself.
Hi. My name is Lawrence. Actually, Rita has actually said everything for me. But anyway, but I just want to say, I'm retired, but I remain very proactively active in the HR and finance communities. I've been in HR and finance and general management for about over 35 years. Mostly we do as MNCs. Nike is one. Computer Sciences Corporation is another. The Walt Disney Company is also another that I work with. My passion right now is about gardening, about golf, and I continue to write regularly as well about golf courses and golf clubs. Now, as part of my passion that Rita talked about, I'm very fond of giving back. So what I did was I co-founded two organizations which are called Human Resources and Finance Community for Singapore and also ASEAN, which has about 7,000 subject matter experts in it. And I also just recently last year co-founded an organization called Asia Institute of Mentoring, which is the intent is really to bring mentoring to the forefront of the new environments that are changing right now. So because of the pandemic, I think this particular strategy of mentoring is going to become a big player in this unpredictable uncertainties that's happening right now. There's a lot of requirements to care for people right now, and I think we're going to play a big part in that. My basic belief in HR is that it's built around three binding factors. We'll go along that as we talk through today. It's culture, leadership, and values, which are direct impacts to, first of all, the thing that we look after in HR, the people. The second one is the business, and the third one is the organization. Rita, I'm very pleased and honored to be with you today and with the team here to share what I have. And I just want to say thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Lawrence, for the nice introduction. So last but not the least, we have another VIP guest, my good friend, Mr. Audi, who is the founder and chairman of Future HR, and at the same time the country director of Asia HR in Indonesia. Audi, you just let us know more about it.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Rita, for organizing this. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Hello?
you loud and clear.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I think there's a different rule here. I'm the only one wearing hoodie because everyone using suit. I just wanted to clarify, the plan was not like this, yeah? Because the other day we were talking about using jackets, okay? But
Yeah.
okay, that's just kidding, okay? So thank you so much. My name is Audi Lumbantoruan. I'm the founder and chairman of Future HR from Indonesia. And I've been organizing and also build up HR community for the last 10 years. Before that, I was the founder and then chairman of One HR, HR Next Gen, and then also created the first HR federation in Indonesia named Formasi. Yeah. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see Rita again. I'm happy to see Leslie. I'm happy to see Lawrence and also Mr. Mahruf, and hope we have a good discussion.
Wow, thank you, Mr. Audi. You are full of energy. Okay, so we have received a lot of greetings for our speakers today. They are really the big men in your own country, right? So I'm not surprised to see all these nice greetings. So before we start the Q&A session, I would like to ask our audience to put your questions, if any, in the chat box so that we can show it here and then let our speakers answer it, okay? So if you have any question, just feel free to write it in the chat box. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to start the Q&A session now. So my first question is, what are the top 5 workplace trends for 2020 in your country? Let me repeat. What are the top 5 workplace trends for 2020 in your country? Anybody would like to answer this one first? Anybody?
Yes, I can.
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you very much for opening the session. And yes, this COVID-19 pandemic has changed the trend of the workplace. And as you know, about 213 countries have been affected. So this is the global problem. This is not Asian problem or not any country-specific problem. So this has really impacted the workplace, and trend has been changed. First trend, what we see, which is very much unusual in Bangladesh, of working from home. So this trend has been started that people started to work from home as much as possible, not going to the office, trying to listen to the government, instruction of staying at home, staying safe. So this has been started. Having said this, not all organization was not equipped to work from home because of the IT system. So the second trend, what I have seen, that organizations are increasingly integrating the IT into their business process so that they can work from home and they can deliver the services to their clients and customers sitting at home. So this has been significantly started in most of the organizations, although there are some organizations which are very production oriented, labor intensive, they need to probably go. But the organization which are not production oriented, intellectual, all the universities in Bangladesh, they have started the online classes and teaching. So this is a huge change. And many organizations, they have started flexible working system, that you don't need to go to office every day, or you don't need to spend the whole day in the office. You can be half day in the office and half day at home, and you can be 2-3 days in the office and 2-3 days remaining at home. So that flexibility is started. And apart from all these good practices, there are some bad things also happening. And like in the informal sectors, there are some layoffs going on. As an example, that shops and establishment, temporary informal kind of organization, those who actually cannot survive, so they started layoffing. And some organization, with my regrets, I see that also started paying less, which is not expected. But it is also true that if organization cannot earn money, how can they pay? So this also has been a trend started. So the good trends, and also some kind of some trends which are not acceptable. But again, these are happening. But again, I should mention that our government is very supportive. Our honorable Prime Minister has given verdict and that people should not be fired during this pandemic situation. You continue. She has declared a lot of incentives to different sectors, different industry, in order to help the people so that they can get the salary. So those has been started, but government role is very commendable. Our death rate is very less. Our infection is also still less. So I think on and over, the trend has changed, and this is a new experience. Trend has been changed like other countries. So thank you for allowing me for sharing the trends of the workplace in Bangladesh.
Thank you, Hussein. Maybe I'll go next.
Yeah, Lawrence, yes.
Yeah. So in Singapore, we're now preparing to go back to work, return to work. I think June 2nd is when we are going into first phase. And then the government's going to review for second phase and also third phase. We're not completely out of the woods yet. So the trend is some of the workplace trends that I will share with you all relates to three areas. One is the workplace itself, and then the other one is the workforce, and the third one will be the business. So the workplace is something that organizations are now starting to explore the possibility of actually having their people back in the office. So they're preparing to welcome people back. But unfortunately, the state of the requirements by Singapore is that the social distancing still remains to be in place. So a lot of the offices in Singapore are pretty small, they're very compact. And if you have SMEs especially, which make up about 70% of the organizations in GDP, right? You can tell that a lot of the employees, if they come into work, they will not be able to exercise social distancing. So I think a lot of the HR folks are now running around trying to work out policies and processes where people need to be, like for example, if you're making a coffee in the pantry, it probably only need one person to be there at a time. So until that person finish eating and having his coffee, then the other person can move in and do it, for example. So one of the key things in the workplace trends is that the possibility of now shaping the workplace to suit the requirements of the government of social distancing. So we do need to be mindful and compliant, because the ministry is now also penalizing organizations who do not follow the rules. So key workplace trend, keeping employees safe and practicing good social distancing. For the workforce, we talk about organizations, as Hussein has shared, taking stock of the business. I think there are many people suffering, many organizations suffering right now, and they're hurting. So they are now taking stock of whether or not they should continue, and if they continue, whether there should be a change in the way in which they plan. Most impacted will obviously be the cost effectiveness in terms of people required, in terms of whether or not they should be right sizing, Hussein's words, retrenchments, whether there should be reduction of salaries, no pay leave, reconstructing new employment contracts to align to the changes. So this is some of the trends that HR has got to go through in Singapore. Learning and development is another one, because right now, I think the onslaught of actually preparing our people, right, is very important in terms of how they're going to work, what they're going to be doing as well. So learning and development from an online e-learning perspective, because interaction is not possible at this moment, is taking place, and a lot of SEPs, that means self-employed professionals and training institutions, are now working with HR to set up online training, a lot of online training. The other one is also talent acquisition. The way we hire people is going to be different. What we look for, whether you hire for skill or whether you hire for personality, is going to be a difference in employment. So the people who are also going into the workplace, they're going to be very choosy, because I suspect it will be more supply than demand. So there's a change in that as well. And then I will talk one more, which is 5, which is there needs to be a better communications process. The reason why I say that is because when you are, even though the whole process is now changing to return to work, it doesn't necessarily mean that everybody is going to go back to work. A lot of companies are still utilizing work from home. Therefore, it's even more important for one of the trends in HR to make sure that when you communicate, you are very clear, you are prepared in the communications, so that you do not leave question marks in the way you talk about things. So these are the 5 that I would like to talk about. So I'll leave the rest to Audie or Leslie. Is that okay? Thank you.
So
That's a lot.
Okay. Could I next?
Leslie, right? Go ahead.
Okay. Putting in perspective, the first country to initiate a lockdown was China on the 23rd of January 2020. Most other countries
Hi, Leslie.
initiated lockdowns of.
Hello? I think the connection is no good.
Leslie, we cannot hear you.
maybe some connection issues. Maybe we'll start with Mr. Audi. You talk first. When Leslie is back, then it will be his turn. Okay, Mr. Audi.
Sure. Yeah, so thank you so much. I think the same questions that you address for us. Actually, in Indonesia, the government is always updating the situation of the COVID patients, and the numbers of the patients who get recovered and get healthy more and more we hear every day. Yeah, and now the issue is about the government is planning to open gradually every sectors in Indonesia. So if we talk about what is the trends of workplace at the moment in Indonesia, number one is about the readiness of the people who want to come back to the office. Yeah, because for the government, they say they're gonna open the
Sorry,
the
it's a
offices.
line. We have a bad line connection here.
Can I continue, Rita?
Yeah. Leslie, let Mr. Audi continue first, and after that.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
we
So
can.
the government is now setting up policies to all the companies,
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
to all
Yeah, sorry.
the organization, to all the society that they are planning to set up policy to come back to the office, return to work. Yeah. So the trend number one is definitely now is about the readiness of people to come back to the world. A lot of policy set up, and then a lot of approach being settled by the government. And as an HR professional, we have to anticipate this. We are making a graduation transition where people can work from the office, or maybe they can work from home. Yeah, that's the number one. So there's a way of working that is now changing the way we used to work. And then the second one is about how we should make sure the workplace is safe enough and able to accommodate the productivity. Yeah. So now the HR in Indonesia, we are talking about how to make the workplace, the arrangement, the layout is actually allowing people to work more productive. Yeah. And people in Indonesia now, we have so many islands. Yeah. We have so many locations, but the most centralized changing is now happen in Java Island, especially for Jakarta. Yeah. So when we talk about the workplace trend, number two is about the layout, the place where we work. Yeah, that's the second one that is going to be the trend. And the third one is about how we learn. Now, a lot of people, especially in HR, they do a remote meeting like this. They also are conducting remote learning, yeah, through e-learning, and then many things that the government is doing to help the citizen to work and even to learn from many facility. Yeah, the government is actually creating a facility to allow the people to learn about new skills, new competency. Yeah, and as an HR, we have to make sure that our employee who is now taking the time for develop themselves are really monitored, and then can come back with a better situation. And then the last trend is about, of course, this is the one that we are been facing about in Indonesia. Many of the business leaders are talking about where can we actually get profitable for the next 6 to 7 months from now. So that's going to be affecting the issue of the manpower cost. Well, we are in Indonesia now, try to anticipate policy and try to anticipate risk where we should be anticipating if company cannot afford to have the size of the organization as used to be. Like Pa Hussein said, we also accommodating the trend that some of the organization downsizing the business. So that will be the 5 trend of workplace in Indonesia, Rita. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Audi. So Leslie? Oh, I think he has some connection issues. Leslie? Yeah, I think again the connection issues here. Maybe when he's back, we will give him a chance to continue with these answers for question 1. So let us move up. So we lost him again. So let's move on to the second one. Actually, some of the speakers already. Yes, Mr. Hozan. Yes, who? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Hozan. Yes.
Yeah. You are asking me? I was little bit disconnected.
No,
Can you
I thought,
repeat? What?
yeah. I thought you wanted to say something. Okay, before Leslie is back, we'll move on to the second question. Okay, actually, some of the speakers already mentioned the impact on the workplace, the workforce, and also the organization as a whole. Maybe we can add on this for those who haven't spoken on this topic. How would it impact this COVID-19? How would it impact the workforce, the workplace, and the organization as a whole? Okay.
Okay.
So, okay. Yes, who would like to speak first?
I'm just maintaining the order, but if you want to change, no problem. Should
No
I or
problem. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Hozan. Mr. Hozan, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
because you started with the first one, so I'm just following.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, the impact, very honestly, mostly it's very negative and challenging type of impact. It's not a good experience. It's not a pleasant experience so far.
Yeah.
Every organizations are adversely impacted. As one of the senior HR professionals of the country and leading HR professional, what I see, the first impact is that the sufferings of the employees as a whole has increased significantly. In Bangladesh, for about 40 to 50 million people, they live on daily income, you can imagine. And those people for last 2 months cannot work properly. So this is a huge issue. Governments are giving some incentive, but these are not sufficient. This is as a whole country. In terms of in the organization, what I see that they have also some sufferings. As I mentioned during my previous discussion, that not every organization paying the full salary. Some organization they reduce the salary, some organization they lay off their people, and this has significantly increased the sufferings. As one of the leading person in HR profession, I received lots of emails and lots of text messages that people lost their job, asking for some support for getting the job and some financial support. You will very pleased to know that our federation, we have instituted a charity fund for the HR professional who lost their job to support them actually during this pandemic time. So we are in the process of processing. We have received many applications, so we are trying to help them during this pandemic time. The second thing, what I have seen that organizations are losing the talent. Because when talent people, in every organization, there are some talent people. When these talent people are not getting the salary, support, and other things, they are exploring the job. So they are changing their job, and this way organizations are losing their talent. And I don't know when the pandemic will be over, how those organizations will overcome this. So this is the serious impact I have seen. As a whole, because of this mental stress and mental agony, and the workplace has been totally, disorganized. So the productivity of the employees has been significantly reduced, and as a whole, the organizational productivity also reduced. Although you see, government is trying to give a lot of support and consolation, but again, when I am not mentally peace, it affected my productivity. So as a whole, individual employee level productivity has reduced. As a whole, the organization productivity level has been reduced. And this way, what I see that the loyalty, commitment, dedication, that also has been affecting the organization in the organization as well as for the employees. So the impact is mostly negative and adverse, and I don't know how long it will continue. If it is continue for a long time, the impact will be more serious. Thank you.
Oh, okay. We lost Leslie again. Anyway, okay. I was about to give the chance to answer question 1 and 2, and we lost again.
Never mind.
Never mind. So, Lawrence, you like to share on this one?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
sure. The work trends impacting the workplace, workforce, and the organization as a whole. I think the biggest change is around the way we work, the way we engage, the way we measure, the way we communicate, and the way we interact with our colleagues. But not only the colleagues now, but also the family nucleus. I say this because I think work from home is going to stick around for the next, at least 2020. There are three areas I want to talk about in this particular thing. Technology is one. I think from a technological viewpoint, because of what happened, organizations are now starting to see that they need technology and digitization to come into play very fast. Because if this happens again, they'll be in the defensive again. So technology from a HR viewpoint, I think the organizations that don't have HRMS in place, I think you have to start thinking about it. Because employees, if they want to be more productive, they need to be able to work the things like no pay leave, medical claims, leave, general insurers, applying for things, right, easier. So if you have the HRMS in place, you will help the employees a lot to do their work better. So technology for HR would be HRMS. The other one is the trend towards HR being more business oriented. The concept of human resources business partnering becomes even more critical, and understanding across, not just in HR, but across all the other business functions, understanding how the financials impact each function, understanding how financials impact people, is going to be very important. So the HR business partner being on the ground, understanding what's happening in the whole organization, building that network becomes more critical. So connecting with all the functions is a critical trend that needs to take place. That will happen as well. The last one I want to talk about is leaders. The way the leaders are going to interact is also going to be different. Remote management is just a method, but managing is a means by which you connect with your people. So it's very, very important that leaders start building certain sets of skills like emotional intelligence. I think the ability to be more compassionate, to be more caring, to be more supportive, to have more empathy, the soft skills mostly, not just the technical skills, but the soft skills, the ability to motivate your employee, even though you can't see the person, even though you're not face to face, but at least you are connecting directly. An opportunity to actually understand how the employee feels, because employees, when they're remote or working away from the office, there are many other factors that impact that person. It could be family, it could be the work environment that they're in right now. So leaders need to make a huge concerted effort to change the way they lead and manage people as well. So those are the 3 points I'd like to bring up that would impact the way we work. Thank you.
Lawrence, the last point that you mentioned about leaders, that has resonated with what I recently heard. Somebody says that before you ask for your hand, you need to touch their heart, right? Even in difficult times, we also need to touch the heart of our employees so that we can keep them engaged. Okay, who's next? Leslie, here comes your, can you hear us? I think the connection again is no good. Leslie? Okay, so if that's the case, Mr. Audi, your turn. Can you continue with the your great insight on this question too? Impact.
Sure, but I think we need to check if Leslie can do a data connection. But of course, because we want also to hear it from Malaysia, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so regarding the questions about what will be the trend in the workforce, I would tell one thing. At the moment, we see the trend of changing in terms of where we're gonna work, where we're gonna play, where we're gonna learn, and then how do we gonna deliver job. Yeah, that's the trend that's happening now, because this crisis is a different crisis than previous crisis. Yeah, this is the time when HR as a leader as well as a change agent will be seen as a hero. Yeah, as a somebody who gonna change the game. somebody who gonna facilitate the business chain. So if we're gonna see the trends gonna be, I think for the long run, we're gonna see a lot of changing in terms of technology intervention. We are actually at the very basic stage where we are using technology. We can see a lot of new technology is coming for, I would say, 1 to 2 years from now, really help and push people to work more productive, really push people and leaders to work together in terms of collaboration. And now the change is about to begin after probably July and August onwards, yeah, because the workforce is one thing. Now the organization, especially the business owner, they gotta think about how can I keep the best talent. I want to make sure that I know I have my own talent in my organization can help me to boost again, to raise up again my business for the next 7 or even 8 months from now, or maybe probably 12 months from now. So they gotta push HR. Come on, you gotta push and help people, your workforce, to work better, to work more productive. On the other hand, don't forget this area, what we are seeing now, can make our workforce feel lonely. They are feeling lonely, a different way of working from home, a remote place, and some of them feel exhausted. So there's a part of HR we need to give them not just compassion but help them. We're gonna need to embrace the people, embrace our workforce, that they have the same communication, they have the same goal, that they are still being monitored by the management and the business leader. So if we are talking about the trend, well, until now we don't know actually where it's going to be, yeah. But what I can see is that step by step the way of working gonna be more critical, and HR gonna play a very strategic role on that one. So that's my answer, Rita.
Thank you, Mr. Audi. Now I would like to see if Mr. Leslie is ready to talk because he's now logging in. Hopefully, or else, since okay, or else we have some question here. Maybe we can make use of this opportunity to get some of the questions from the audience answered. Okay, we have a lot of greeting messages from each of the speakers here. So here comes the question from I think from one of the good friends from Malaysia, right? So now moving forward, under this new circumstance, requires greater re-engineering of the economy. How can HR play a greater role in influencing the economy at national, regional, and international levels? So how can HR play a greater role in influencing the economy at national, regional, and international levels? Who would like to answer this one, Lawrence?
Yeah, I'll answer that. Right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I always believe to answer this question is R.S. Sadiran, right? Naidu. There's one basic principle that HR needs to work with, and that is that you control what you can control, and you do it with a lot of thoughtfulness and care and support, and you manage what you cannot control, because there's no point trying to control something that is out of your hands, like for example laws or global changes that are taking place. But you can control your organization. Things inside the things that you can control are inside your organization, maybe in your industry. So you work with those. And there are three things that HR will need to do first, as a first step, is that they got to look at three things very, 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 very sensitively and be very clear about it. Is that you need to think with less head and more heart. What Rita is saying, that you now need to, because your people are not inside the organization anymore, and they're spread out all over the country, but you still got to connect with them. So how you do that? You get to them through the heart. You get to them through how they feel. You get to feel them, but you do not force issues. You do not use head. Use more heart and err on generosity. That is one way, because as a HR function, what happens is you cannot impact in a very big way organizations, but you can impact in your small little ways. When your employees feel good about an organization, they will stay with you, they will work for you, and if you are down, they will come and help you. That's most important for us to do. The infrastructure is not so important at this moment in time. I think most important is how you treat your people. You can do that right, everything else will slowly fall into place. Okay, you just got to hold their hurt. That's all. I wanted to just say that. How can HR play a greater role in influencing? We can do it that way.
By touching
Thank
their
you.
heart. Thank you,
Yes.
Lawrence. Any other sharing on this question?
Let me add my views. Thank
Sure.
you for sharing. Thank you, Are, for asking this global question. I think you have covered national, regional, and international. Yes, I know that HR used to be very much centered at the organizational level in many countries. So this is the time, actually, you have a very important point that we have to elevate our role in order to work with the national policymakers. We have to work with the regional policymakers, and we have to have the international policymakers. As I know that in every country we have the HR association, and these are government approved. So we can definitely talk to the government and try to make a partnership. In many countries like Bangladesh, we do not have the HR ministry. I know Malaysia and RA, you have the HR ministry. So this is probably a time to talk to the policymakers that you see, this is the time we have to work together, and we have to have the HR ministry in order to coordinate with the government and non-government aspect. In terms of the regional, there are regional organizations like Asia Pacific HR Federation, which you are the board member, I also serve as the president. So I think this is the high time to take all the perspectives, discuss at the regional level that what we should do as a regional level. And of course, we have the World Federation of HR that can take the lead role. Honestly, in the past, I served with the World Federation, also I served in the Asia Pacific. Our role was not that much global, that much regional. So I think this is the time to take all this learning and come up with a framework. Are you remember that during my presidency time, we have developed the competency framework for the HR professional. And now that I think it is time to develop a regional framework, how economy can be boosted up by the HR professionals and with the help of HR and the international level also. Every country economy will be suffering. Every country, starting from America to any country you go, the economy is suffering. And people are the important determinant for economic boost up. So we cannot ignore human resource in order and boost up the economy. It is not possible. So thank you for asking a very, very strategic question. I liked it for asking this question.
Okay. Any add-on to
Rita, can I add a few things in addition to Mr. Naruf and also Lawrence about the question from Naidu?
Sure.
Well, I would say if your economy wants to grow, you need to make sure first that your company, that the place that you work for now can work again. So as an HR, before you talk about the bigger picture, you're gonna need to think about how you can make sure your employee can work again in healthy environment and more productive than it used to be. That's when you're going to be the key to open the business that can help to facilitate change in the economy. Because if not, whatever we are planning, whatever we're gonna do, there's no movement on moving to the right way. So I think HR must come back to the role as how can I work in the office or in the organization, make sure that my employee can work with a limited situation in a healthy and hygiene workplace, and also can work more productive. That's it. Then it will come, the business will grow by eventually, because everything now with the situation like this, we are still wait and see. So we gotta push the status quo. That's my additional explanation, Rita.
Understand. We have to start with the employees first, right? Before we can do further with the big organization. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Richa, can I add on?
Sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So, one of the key components of what HR needs to do in any organization is that they need to manage the business continuity plans and also strategy of the people. So if you want to do something that's really impactful for the organization so that it rolls over, you ask yourself this question, whether or not you have actually done the business continuity plan and strategy for the people yet. If you haven't done it, you better start now. Because under it, you have the risk and crisis management portions. And these are all HR work that you need to do. The BCP, the BCS, risk and crisis management. Very critical if you want to talk about process. This is one of the areas that you need to go in and do it.
Okay. Thank you, Lawrence. So, Leslie, okay, now you're ready to talk, right?
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. The Wi-Fi has been crazy.
Welcome back, Leslie.
Yeah, welcome back.
Thank you, Adi.
Hi, nice to see you again.
So,
likewise. Hopefully the Wi-Fi stays.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Okay.
To
The
put
first
the
one. Yeah. Sorry, which one you would like to answer?
Okay.
Let you decide. The questions.
Okay, I'll just start from the start again, if you don't mind. Just a quick recap.
No problem. Yeah.
Putting in perspective, China was the first country to put into most of the other countries. Malaysia had a partial lockdown, but essentially the whole economy locked down, except for the banks, the hospitals, the supermarkets, and the pharmacies. So industries, government did that essentially to save lives, yeah. But then it did with a cost. A lot of companies are suffering. 98% of companies in Malaysia are SMEs. So when you essentially have a lockdown, you're actually freezing the economy. The industry is off into recession and post-depression.
Hello.
How severity.
Hello, Leslie. I think I gained a connection issue, right? Hello.
I think he has a problem again.
Yeah. Because of the thunderstorms and lightning in
balance between a lockdown and opening up the economy.
The line was breaking, Leslie. Hello. I think he will. Yeah, I think he will disappear and then come back again. Yeah. So let's move on to two other questions that we have from the audience. Okay. This one. Okay. Thanks for the nice discussion from Bangladesh. Due to pandemic situation and uncertainty in service, economic, please suggest how to reduce the stress situation and psychological issues of HR people. Who would like to answer? Hello?
I can try.
Okay, a guy in Bangladesh. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a guy from Bangladesh, and he's a very stalwart HR person in Bangladesh. So I think I should first for listening our session. He's governor of the Lions. So you can imagine he's a big shot. Thank you very much. Yes, I think the stress and psychological issues are not only affecting the HR person, And I understand why he has asked this question, because we have the double pain. We have our own pain and we have to also work with the employee. So what I personally think that organizations should actively think how we can address the stress and mental issues. You will not find any family where one person is not infected. So stress is affecting in each and every family and in each and every organization. One of my office colleagues yesterday passed away. So you see, the stress is affecting in every day. So in this situation, what I can suggest that HR organizations and HR professionals and HR federation, we should organize some kind of webinars for the HR professionals and how to address this stress and how to remain calm and actually and still work with the organization and support our employee. So immediately we should try to address some of the awareness session on how to relieve the stress. I was browsing the other day and I found WHO and UNICEF, they have come up with some very good video on how to reduce the stress and mental agony during this pandemic situation. What I can suggest that organization, these are free resources. Organization can download them and share with their employees, and organization can organize some kind of awareness session. I know that face-to-face it is not possible, but webinar or live program or this kind of program is possible nowadays. Nowadays, about 70 to 80% people in Bangladesh, they have the social media access. So we can do this through the social media. This is so my straightforward answer is that yes, you are very much right that we are extremely stressed and our psychological situation is bad. In that situation, we have to boost up our morale and work for the employees and work for our country. So we can organize some kind of awareness session, webinar, live session, and sharing some of the videos how to reduce the stress and psychological health.
Can I add on, please?
Sure. Please, Lawrence.
Yeah, Wahid. In Singapore, right, what the government has actually started doing is actually giving grants and subsidies to organizations and communities, right, that are stepping up and going out to reach the people who are hurting and stressed, and there's a lot of anxiety going on. So in the organization that I look after, one of the key things that we do is actually we actually have weekly or twice weekly webinars set up, short webinars where people can sign in and talk about, for example, resilience, talk about stress, talk about wellness, talk about tension. And what it does is for us, right, is we do it voluntarily. That means there's no payment, it's all free, but we create this opportunity for people to talk about it. Anybody, it doesn't matter who you are, from any organization, you feel like it's useful for you, you come in and then you talk about it. For example, we did one just yesterday on children, because although we're talking about workforce, we're talking about employees, the ones that are also impacted are also the family, the children. The children are being stuck in the house 24/7, and the tension actually is quite tremendous. So normally they go to school, they spend some hours away from the parents, but now they're together all the time. They can't. So there's a lot of anxiety and sort of arguments going on. So we actually have webinars where we teach the parents how to deal with things, and then we teach the parents how to not to go into the fridge to eat every time they're working from home, because they put on a lot of weight, right? Things like that. So just creating this environment where organizations, for example, in your country, I would suspect that your association would need to do something like that as well, where you create an opportunity for people to dial in, to share concerns, for people to teach them how to deal with issues. Even though it's very short, it's very useful. We've had some very positive feedback about it as well. The other one is in organizations. For example, there's this lady that I talked to who's a HR lead for Pizza Hut and KFC. She's got a big HR team because of all the outlets. So they're totally stressed because they need to look after all the people, right? There are a lot of unhappiness out there, and a lot of the HR people are under tremendous stress because they need to deal with this. Quite a few have actually resigned because of it. So what she does is she actually organizes get-togethers. They do sharing. They share and they talk about these issues, and then they try and solve it as a team. This should be done as well. You bring the team together often, frequently, maybe once a week, maybe twice a week, but you get them to talk. And then when they share these things, right, they become more aware of some of the things. Hey, they're not in this alone. There are other people who are feeling the same thing, that they're actually hurting the same way. So it does help in that sense. Okay, Wahid, I thought I'd share that with you. What we
Yeah.
do.
Okay, so we now have Leslie,
Okay, Rita, I'm back.
Okay,
Okay, yeah,
whatever
okay.
question that you want to ask, welcome you. Okay, so yeah, so carry on.
Just a continuation. Earlier I was discussing the government has a
Yes.
balance between saving lives and unlocking the economy. Yeah. So we come down to the corporate level quickly. So at the corporate level, companies need to sustain. They're looking at survival. They're looking at the cash flow. They're looking at solvency. Very important. But on the other side of the coin, your employees' welfare equally important. You're looking at their physical health, their mental health, as well as their spiritual health. Very important. So the five pointers I want to highlight, essentially the first one is paradigm shift. Paradigm shift essentially means life before COVID-19, the way company runs business, the way employees do their work, the way we sort of get along with our everyday lives.
Mm-hmm.
So you fast forward to today, paradigm shift essentially means the way we used to live is gone, is historical. We're coming to a new norm. We have to face reality. So everyone from the board level down to employees must embrace change, number one. Number two, here in Malaysia, the government is very supportive. In March, the government announced a 250 billion ringgit stimulus package, and an additional 10 billion ringgit. So total is 260 billion ringgit, which is approximately US $59 billion. This will essentially helping the economy, helping industries, as well as helping individuals to overcome the hardships. Point number three, in line with this, the government has instituted very strict SOPs. Since the 4th of May, most industries have been able to resume business and so forth, and all the workplace arrangements, the 1 meter, 2 meters, etc. So daily here in Malaysia, on a daily basis, all organizations have to submit to the government to see whether they're in compliance with the SOPs. If they're not, then the companies will be shut down. So again, this is extra work, but it needs to be done. So the fourth point I'd like to highlight is at the company level. The company level, management can, what we are doing here is actually essentially three portions. One is the use of technology. You're looking at digitalization. You're looking doing more automation. So this to make the company organization more lean and efficient and somehow return to normalcy. Number two, you're looking at how meetings can be conducted. So a lot of meetings now are done using video conferencing, using apps like Zoom, apps like Hangout or Webex. So this being done on a very increasing scale here in Malaysia. And the third point companies are doing is actually reskilling and retraining the staff to acquire new skills. Very important. And another fifth point I'd like to highlight is likewise in most other countries, work from home. In fact, over here, some companies really embrace embrace working from home. Some actually would like to go back to the company and work. There was a research by Stanford University in the US. In fact, they found out that most Americans like to actually work from home, and there have been a 13.5% increase in productivity so far. So these are what Lawrence and Musharraf and Audie off and on when I was able to connect, heard, yes, all our employees are under a lot of emotional stress. They, their families, not only employees and their families, the governments themselves, they're having a big headache. What's the best way forward? So we have to improvise as we go along. And very important, this is where HR as a business partner plays a very prominent role. We are the bridge between management and the workers. So again, HR professionals have to find the right balance without incurring too much cost, same time making sure the company sustains, at the same time making sure the welfare of the employees are met. Thank you at this stage.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Leslie. So I think we are coming to the end of the session. But before we conclude the session, I would like to give you one last question. And because in the interest of time, I will only want one tip from each of you on this question. So that would be the most important tip that you think would be. So how do HR prepare for all these changes? Can you just give us one tip, just one tip from each of you on how HR prepare for all these changes? Who would like to start first? Leslie, this time you first.
Okay, before the Wi-Fi goes off. Yeah, essentially HR has a very important role to play. We have to embrace technology. We have to perhaps have a lot of counseling sessions with our employees to make sure they are in the right frame of mind. Because let's face it, worldwide, emotional stress is very important. A lot of marriages are being on the rocks, and there's a lot of domestic violence and so forth. That's at home, and likewise in the company, we have to soften the impact. Yeah, so HR plays an important role in the respect.
Okay,
Thanks.
to work on our mindset. Very good. So who would like to be the next?
I can go.
Yeah, yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, Lawrence.
I think we mustn't get carried away about working from home, because I believe that working from home will not be the end all and start. I think a lot of organizations may not be ready for it. So don't get carried away with working from home, because a lot of companies will return back to the office. We just need to be mindful of that. Key to success going forward, I think in a changing new normal is about, as I said and I shared with everybody, is that when you deal with employees now, have less head, more heart. Think about that, right? And when you do that, right, it's not about giving everything. It's not about no more policing, no more compliance. It's about thinking about caring, thinking about supporting, thinking about compassion, thinking through what you're going to do, and then making the decision. I think we need to be engaging with them more, but with less head and more heart. That's the parting message I want to give.
Thank you. More appreciation, right? Thank you, Lawrence. Who will be the next? Mushiro?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Mushiro, yes.
Yes, I see after this pandemic, the HR role will be much bigger and elevated. And the role I see, that first role would be to rebuilding the confidence and morale of our employees. People lost their confidence and morale. So we have to do some work which we never worked in the past. This is an example. Lawrence has already mentioned that the working from home started, it will not end. So we may have to have a policy, institutionalize a policy and rethink that how many people really need to go to the office, people can still work from home. So those kind of things will be coming up. And actually the flexible work is also an issue will be coming up. Another big thing is there is no prediction when this pandemic will end. So we have to reorganize the sitting arrangement in order to ensure the social distance. Particularly in Bangladesh, I have seen in many offices there is a very back-to-back people are sitting. There is not even 1 feet gap. So now the discussion is going on that 3 feet or 6 feet. So we have to restructure the whole sitting arrangement in order to ensure that there is we have to revisit our policy for meeting. We have to revisit our policy for visitors visiting to the office. A lot of things we have to introduce, and we have to see that particularly in this part of the world, we see that most of the training are face to face. So we have to rethink that those training could be mostly automated, could be self-directed, built on the LMS, so that they can attend from home according to their convenient time. And finally, I see that organization will go for restructuring. There is no shortcut. In a country like Bangladesh, we have a very tall structure organization. This pandemic has taught us that we don't need that kind of tall structure. So the restructuring of the process, the restructuring of the organogram, those kind of things will be coming, and HR has to be ready. And many organizations will be probably offering the early retirement program, golden handshake program, in order to reduce the number of the employees. And you see a lot of people, because of staying at home for many times, the eminent retiring person who will be retiring for 1 to 2 years time, they might consider for going out from the organization, because these are the elderly people. So all these things are coming actually in HR, and we have to be ready. Now, this pandemic will be over, but HR job will be elevated and HR job will be used, and we have to work very hard in order to help the organization and help our people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Who would like to do the next? Ms. Audi? On keep or one second question.
Okay. Yes, sorry, I just unmute my my speaker. So I think everyone here just already talked about what we need to do as an HR, but I want to make sure one thing. Yeah, you have to think from two different way. Yeah, one from the employer side, from your business leader perspective. I think now it's time for you to think not only just business partner, but as a business builder, because now you have to step up a little bit higher. Because when the business leader cannot do a solution problem of your organization, you need to think about how you can really facilitate continuity to your business, especially giving solution to your business. So that's number one you need to do, because now HR is now focusing on cost management. I assume now everybody talking about BCP, we are talking about expense on the hiring and everything. But we need also to think from the business leaders as well as business owner way of thinking, because they have to find a solution where they can bring their money or manage their cash flow or manage their capital to the right way. So you have to think like an investor. You have to think as a business builder. And on the other side, you have to think from HR as a facilitator in the organization. So you have to think again about the working experience for your workforce, for your employee. This is the thing that biggest challenge. A lot of people say retention is not needed at the moment because all the things come to the cash flow or to the investment. But I would say it's important to keep your employee have still the best working experience with whatever limited resources you have. You can do a regular communication. You can do a regular checkup with your employee, your talent, checking about what about their family, what about their work, how do they feel. Like I agree with Lauren, just say be compassionate, but more further, you have to come up with a solution feeling to them gratitude. Gratitude is the antidote of loneliness, yeah? So you have to think that way. So that's the right role for HR at the moment. So that will be my answer, Rita.
Thank you, Mr. Audi. So Leslie, I leave you the.
So maybe one last word.
Yeah.
Agreed, Audie. What I call my introduction. Balance is everything from the governments to the company and down to HR. Balance. Excellent.
Thank you for the excellent word, balance. Okay. So here comes the end of our session today. Big thank you to all the speakers today. And I believe that we have heard a lot of good answers, great insights, and we have a lot to take away. So we should be feel very blessed and fruitful for this weekend. Okay, so again, thank you to the speakers again. And so thank you very much for those audience who have participated in this session. And I'll see you next time. Okay, thank you. Have a nice weekend. Goodbye.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you.
bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
thank you, thank you, Rita,
Bye-bye.
Lawrence, Nazrul, and also Leslie. See you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.